are live.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube. And not, I need to try to get my Facebook is. Can't find it. It's right here, but it won't show up anymore. Did the same thing that the OBS did. How do I get it to show up?
YouTube it is. Are we the only two viewers?
I'm not on
There we
YouTube.
go.
Somebody else is viewing.
Okay, so it's us and one other person on YouTube right now.
YouTube land.
There you go. It's live on Facebook now.
All right. I think every time I go live, that's what people hear usually from me the first time.
Yep.
All right. All right, here we go. Hopefully everybody's hearing us all right out there in YouTube and Facebook land. It's been a month. I started teaching a different class, a drivetrains class, and these guys went to different classes. What class, Holly?
I'm in.
Fuel and emissions.
Yep, that.
She's too slow.
Yep.
And Eduardo, what are you in? Hybrids. Too slow.
There you go. That's it.
So they're enjoying some other topics from better instructors, but I still haven't turned in my grades, so I've kind of I got something to hang over their heads, which works out really well. Okay, if you all that watched the previous couple episodes of 4L60E disassembly, you probably remember this transmission had the infamous 3/4 clutch burn-up failure that occurs in this input drum. And then you probably also saw, and those are all up on Facebook and on YouTube, there are other live streams, that initially when I first did this little test, I got bubbles coming out of this. Remember, I know Holly got a kick out of bubbles, the same bubbles. And then when I did it live, I didn't get any bubbles, but then I heated it up with a heat gun and I got my bubbles back. So what happens is this portion right here of this drum, or the shaft, this portion of the shaft is supposed to seal off into this portion of the drum. You can't probably see that too well, but then there are different holes that are in here. And there's 3 sets of holes. Let's see if you can get that. Not really. Eduardo, did you bring your light?
You know it.
You know
Like,
it.
we need a light.
He loves that, man. He's like, dun, 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 dun. There's one right there. You can see Eduardo to the rescue. That one actually is the, that one is the, I don't remember. That one's the forward clutch right there, that hole that the light's on. I rotate around. That one's the overrun clutch. And then this one that's really close to that top edge, you can see that, it's really close to the top edge. That's where the 3/4 oil goes in. That's why if this thing has any kind of sealing issue around up top here, instead of fluid pressure going to the 3/4 clutch, it can leak around it. And if you remember, it already has a natural leak here. And then this check ball, which isn't supposed to leak, but that could also be a point for failure. The check ball sealed up okay, but this opening here had, when it was warm, had excessive leakage. We checked that by air testing it with solvent in here, and I heated up this drum, and we saw a bunch of bubbles around there. So we knew that was a problem. So I went ahead and pressed the shaft out. There's a press fit, and they do have, if you look right there, Eduardo, may I see your light again? I might just keep that over here. There's like it's not a dummy spline, but like they weld that portion of the spline together. Oh, there we go. And that lines up with an opening that's inside this shell. It's like a double, there you see it, the machine spline. That's kind of got an opening machined into it, or a missing spline, if you will. So that way, when you could switch to front view. So that way when I put some of this Loctite compound, this is Loctite 680, this retaining compound, it's green stuff, not to be mistaken with the thread locker that's green. The green thread locker is like wicking Loctite. This stuff is designed to, it's a retaining compound. It's designed to retain things like shafts and bearings and sleeves and so forth. So at some point we'll clean this up with brake clean. We'll clean that up with brake clean, put some of that retaining compound on there, press it in, and it should be good. So that's what we found. One of the issues that we found with this 3/4 clutch failure. Another thing that we found was in the valve body, we had some leakage on the abused plugs. I'll grab this valve body real quick. What did you say, Howard?
You were blinding Eduardo with the light.
Oh, sorry, I had that shooting right at him. My bad. But, okay, let's see, where did that abused plug go? It's the one that's in question fit right here behind this, kind of in this, zoom this in maybe, or I'll hold it up. Right behind this little plug right there. There's a plug that separates this passage and separates these passages. And one of these fluid passages is going to be 3/4 oil. And if we have a leak, it is going to find its way out and leak and exhaust out. Because if I flip this over, you'll see I have a vent. So what will end up happening is these plugs, abuse plugs, like this one here, this is one from Transco. It's supposed to fit in. It's going to be a better fit, a better seal. If I didn't put this in there, I could lose my 3/4 oil. And that would be no good. So we found that how you determine if these are good or bad is you can vacuum test the valve body. And when you vacuum test that passage, if the vacuum that it retains is lower than expected, this is the clearance between this plug and the bore is worn out. And you always want to check this dry, you brake clean things, and that's what we did. We took it apart, cleaned it out with solvent, brake cleaned it to get all the residual oil off, reassembled it, and then when we checked this passageway here, it leaked excessively, which gave us the indication that we needed to replace that abuse plug. And you can also put one over here that could cause an issue. Another thing that we found is that when we checked the pump, this is a torque signal or a boost valve. Torque signal pressure finds its way in this tiny little hole right there. And that works on the end of this boost valve. And that adds pressure to the pressure regulator valve. When we vacuum checked it through the oil pump, it had a poor vacuum reading. When we vacuum checked it right here, it actually was pretty good. So what you replace it with is this is a Sonic's pressure regulator valve, or a boost valve. And you can see it still has a tiny little hole there and so forth. But what it's got are these O-rings that seal off. So because where we were leaking before was between these passages here in the pump, and these O-rings now are going to prevent that. Now what is so funny?
Mr. Andy has to make an appearance. His comment is much more complicated than a toaster, even that of a Skynet one.
Well, the toasters are, those machines, they're out to get you, Andy. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but I hope you don't have toasters in your house, Andy, because they'll be the death of you eventually. People are going to be watching this wondering, where the heck did that come from? Thank you for watching, Andy. I appreciate it. And keep up the comments, even though most people probably won't understand your jokes. But I will.
That's all that matters.
But I will, and that's all that matters. Another thing that we're replacing because of a poor vacuum check is this is the original pressure regulator valve, and I put tape over it. Come on, Holly. I put tape over this part because there is a hole right here that ends up coming to the end, and line pressure comes in, pushes on the end of this regulator valve, and allows us to regulate pressure. This little flat spot, which you may or may not be able to see. My hands are dirty. That is supposed to be there. That allows converter charge. Even when this thing's not allowing converter fluid through, some of it will be able to find its way through. But the replacement valve, if you look, what they've done, this is a transgo valve. And they have a new like bumper spring, they call it here. But if you look in this area, they added metal to it. It's got meat in this area, so that way, if this pressure regulator valve oscillated back and forth and wore out the bore in the pump, this replacement valve is going to ride on metal that has previously never been touched by a valve. So it will fix any leakage without having to do anything fancy like reaming out the bore. You can just drop this in there and you're good to go. You do have to use, they give you a spring seat and then they give you a new pressure regulator spring. Oh, no, they give you the bumper spring, but you're supposed to reuse.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, Holly, keep up. They want you to use the bumper spring they provide, but use the original pressure regulator spring, unless you're also using their shift kit that provides you with this outer spring. And depending on the instructions, if you end up using that, you want to make sure you use the one that comes in the kit. But if you're just like we're doing, we're going to go back stock with this, and I'm just going to reuse the original pressure regulator spring. I'm not doing a shift kit or anything like that. This vehicle had 200,000 miles on it, so I feel like we found the source of the problem, so I'm not too concerned with that. All right, now, that was the input drum, right?
I think so.
Okay. And oil pump, like I said, the only thing that we're doing to that is we're going to put the pressure regulator, the updated Transgo pressure regulator valve in, the Sonex boost valve, and that should cure any of those issues that we had. The pump itself was actually nice. I flat sanded it, and you can see I was able to get the surface flat, and I can see my sanding marks all the way across. Now, some might ask about the bushings. You can go to the front view there. I'm not replacing these bushings, and people are, oh my gosh, you're not replacing the bushings, you hack. Well, maybe I'm a hack, I don't know. But I would replace bushings if they needed to be replaced. I would definitely do it. But when you lay this shaft in there, the input shaft, and you feel how loose it is in there, there's like absolutely no looseness. I couldn't put a feeler gauge in there if I wanted to. Same thing with this bushing up front. Hold on a second, I don't feel like that's going in all the way. That might be because it's hitting my ring. I think, there we go. So with my seals out, the Teflon seals out, you could sit there and wiggle this shaft back and forth in there to feel for looseness, to see if you can feel it. I mean, you could feel 1/1000th of an inch of looseness if you had to. And the fact that I got a bushing here and a bushing here, if there's any slop in there, I should be able to feel it. And I can't. There's like very little to no looseness. I'd be afraid that if I change these bushings out, that I'd be putting a worse bushing in than I actually have right now. These OE bushings aren't bad, right? They're, they used quality materials, and sometimes the bushings that you get nowadays are questionable. You'll put a new bushing in there, and it'll be so tight around the shaft you can hardly turn it, and that's no good. So another thing is these bushings in an automatic transmission, unlike like a manual transmission, all the torque is going evenly and spread out like evenly around the central axis of rotation. Meaning I've got a planetary gear set, it's got 3, 4, 5 pinion gears on there. They're evenly spaced, and when they're distributing torque, they're pushing out evenly in all directions. That's why I've got bushings in this transmission and I don't have bearings, is because really these things self-align and center to a point. Of course, if there's looseness in there, it could get out of round. But when these bearings or these bushings are fitted well, they seem to do a pretty good job, and I don't see any reason to change them unless there's looseness. So when we go over to the reverse clutch housing and put that onto the pump, go ahead and we'll zoom in on that. This thing here has got some looseness. We definitely would want to address this. You can, I showed this on the previous, but we'll do it right now for you. Wait, I gotta put my thrust washer in there and make sure it's in the right height. This plastic thrust washer is supposed to go, oh, I cut myself. Oh man. Get the hazmat kit. What are you doing? Shop towel? Medic! So,
Electrical tape.
Cancel the live stream.
live stream out. You can see that when I move it back and forth. And maybe I can go hyper zoom on it. Whoa. Whoa. Sorry if you're home and I just made you fall over in your chair. Dizzy. See, that's looseness there. That's sloppy. And I've already done this. Did this pre-production for you, so that way you can see what's going on. I'm going to take a 8/1000 feeler gauge. Now I can actually stick, that seems like excessive clearance, but I can stick an 8/1000 feeler gauge in between the bushing and the actual stator support. So with that, knowing that, this is definitely a bushing I want to change. Yeah. Come on, Holly. So I will change these bushings out. We'll do that here in a second. These are the bushings that we got. It's always nice to have drivers that are proper fits for these and so forth. And yeah, we've got that going on for us, which is nice. Why don't we go through and build this input drum up? I'm going to go ahead and build it up without the shaft in it, just because in order for me to do the Loctite and press the shaft on, I need to go over to the press. And my little arbor press that I have here is not tall enough to do all that. So I'll go ahead and we'll build this up, and then we'll go look at it afterward. So, all right, the very first part that we put in is our 3/4 piston. Now these pistons are from Seal Aftermarket. They come in Toledo trans kits. So when you buy like a Toledo trans kit, I don't know what I do with the bag. You can also get these hyper blue pistons. It's hyper, like high performance. Blue as in the color. Huh? How about that? This just slides right in there. They're actually, you can buy them by themselves. And they are actually a lot of times cheaper than the OE ones. And they, I guess they hold up a lot better. So there I have that 3/4 piston installed. It's in there, nice and snug. Before I forget, because I would have if I didn't think about it just now, there is actually a little green O-ring. Let me pull that 3/4 piston out to get to it. There's a little green O-ring right here. And that seals off between this reverse clutch housing and the shaft assembly. So I want to put that in, and it should come in my little input drum. Another thing that's nice about the Seal Aftermarket kits, they give you the bags and they label them. And they put dates on them, which I think is nice. But like here's the input clutch drum kit. And whoops. Whoopsie. So I can put a little transmission fluid on it or some trans gel. Kind of give it some lubricity. I like enunciating my syllables. You guys are quiet over there. Do you have anything to say, or are you just gonna?
Andy said he wants to hear the 6L rap song.
The what?
The 6L rap song.
Oh, gosh, you know, driving down the street in my 6.0. He had to put the lyrics up. Andy and I were we were dropping some rhymes one day, and we were working on something, and I finished a verse of his. So, but Unfortunately, my memory's not that good, so I don't remember how it went. He'll have to type it in the comments, and then I'll drop those rhymes for him.
Some about needing a toe.
Oh, yeah. Driving down the street, my 60, blowing a head gasket, needing a toe. But then that was his lyrics. I can't remember what I came up after. Because I came up with some of the stuff after that. This is what a lot of people will struggle with when they assemble these. It's putting all of this stuff together with the forward piston in there. And it's not hard once you do it once or twice and you do it a certain way. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of trans gel on the lip seals, or at least some transmission fluid. This one's really simple and easy because I can just slide it in here like this and use my fingernail to kind of work that piston seal in.
Bad choice.
Why was that off camera?
It was, yeah.
Half in, half out. Sorry. Tendency of doing that. Now, there we go. See?
I'll do it top. There you go.
So now this is inside this forward clutch housing. This seal right here, you want to make sure that this is not a seal, but this check ball, you can hear it? You want to make sure that thing is seated in there well, doesn't leak. So you can put air pressure from the inside and check it, or you can try to suck vacuum using your vacuum pump and make sure that check ball seals. If it doesn't, then you'll have a leak in your forward clutch circuit, and this forward clutch is applied in all forward gears. So I'm going to lay that directly on top of this. These are the 3/4 apply fingers. This actually, hold on. The piston pushes up on this assembly to apply the 3/4 clutches, which are on the top. And then this forward piston assembly lives in there like that. I'll use a seal installer, and this is something that's worth buying if you work on these things. You don't want to take a chance of tearing the seal out. So this actually lays over that and kind of lets you jump over the ledges that exist in there. So we don't want to cut our seal, a fresh piston. We don't want to cut them on those ledges, so we'll put that in there. Now, you can see I'm not very kind to my hands, right? I mean, I just cut my finger there, and then this, well, it got cut here, and got cut there, and I'll tell you one time I was installing this and I didn't use anything here, and what you do is you push it, you pinch it with your fingers between the drum and the 3/4 apply, and you push it out of your grip. And I did that, and it worked great. Except this was so sharp, it tore my thumb wide open. So now, what do you think I do? Holly, what do you think I do now?
You don't put your finger there?
Well, I do. I just usually have somebody else do it. No, actually what I do is I put a shop towel between there. That's smart. Yeah, it is. So like I said, you want to keep it pinched in there. So I'm holding it with my thumb and my hand over there on this side. I'm going to push it out of my grip. And once that's installed, you should be able to feel that little spring
Do it
action.
again. Go back. Do it again.
This part?
There you go.
All right, so that is my forward piston, the 3/4 return spring, the 3/4 apply fingers. Next, we need to put the Overrun piston in there. And there is another seal installer for it. There it is.
I thought he was going to talk about it.
This is the seal installer.
There you go. There you go. I thought you were going to talk about something first.
Part number for the seal installer is J. No way in hell am I going to read that. It's too small. You guys want to see if you can read that? This forward one is J. Ain't no way in the hell I'm going to read that.
J29882.
You might actually be able to see this one. J what?
29 something 3.
J29882 for the black one.
What he said. Focus!
Word.
J29882. Since it's not gonna show up.
Yeah, oh, look at that. Ye of little faith.
I knew it was coming.
Okay, so that's that. The black one is for the overrun. You push it down and it skips this past the snap ring that holds this return spring for the overrun down. Now go ahead and put a little transmission gel on there. They make different colors of transmission gel. But like 10 years ago, I bought a case of this stuff and I've never used anything else. So I don't know if green is the best or what, but it's just what we use. That sounds lovely out there. Someone's working on something.
I think it's Connor.
Connor. He's getting ready to start his loud Mustang.
Yeah.
Yay.
Still with the camera?
Yeah.
The one that he wiped out?
No, someone else.
No, he wiped it out. It had 200 miles on it. It was a bad cam. Yeah, our student extraordinaire, Connor Camrad, Cam. It's in his name. He went ahead and had 200 miles on his 351. Jeez, Holly. 200 miles on his 351.
We need like a cue.
Yeah. We need a producer, camera people, director.
We're working on a low budget.
This is a
Then he got a misfire.
what? Oh.
Yeah, I went back to the Ford discussion. Then he got a misfire, and then it started ticking. And then it caused, that's fine, you can keep it on this one. Or she can, I'm sorry, I told you he. And we diagnosed it down to the lifter, and then when we took it apart, it was bad. So hopefully he'll get his money back. I don't know too much with it. So this is really just to install the snap ring. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down. Do you ever have that feeling you're forgetting something?
Yeah, your safety glasses.
Oh, well, other than that,
Safety squints.
see how I can tighten this up by hand? It's because I'm strong. Why are you laughing, Holly?
He started it.
He started it. You're both in detention. That's actually what's going on, guys. These guys aren't here to help. They just got detention, so they're forced to be here.
This is true.
They're in trouble.
It's the bring my grade up, please.
We promise hundreds if we can.
Hey, lucky for Holly, D stands for diploma. And lucky for Eduardo, at least there's an A in fail.
There you go.
I hope she is. So you get
She
that call.
laughs at your videos.
Does she?
Yes. She says, I'm not even into this stuff, but I'll still watch it because you make her laugh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works.
It works for her. Yeah, that's good. Entertainment.
And she learned something.
Yeah. All right, so there's our input drum. Now we have to build this up with the clutches and all that good stuff. So, let me grab those. Thanks a lot, Holly. Give me the safety glasses and now I'm all fogged up. I can't see a thing.
They're more of like a hazard than safety, actually.
Can you see through the camera that I'm fogged up?
Yes.
Because I'm trying to make them fogged up right now. I gotta wear them like reading glasses
Yeah.
to make them not fog up on me. And I know, ditch the glasses, people comment, but, or not glasses, ditch the masks, people comment. But,
One's at 20%.
It's iPhone, it'll last a long time. We would probably ditch the masks if we knew that Holly didn't have COVID, but how are we supposed to know? No, we would ditch them, but they don't let us here at the campus. We want to stay open, so. Now, I'm reusing the steels on some of these because they were perfectly fine, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
There you go.
Hit the on light at the top corner.
I think
Hold on, don't touch it. Okay, wait till it's connected. There we go. Jeez. Little Miss Clicker Fingers over there.
I was like, I'm gonna yell that.
I know.
Thought my bad finger.
I don't even remember what I was talking about.
Gotta use the steels.
Oh yeah, gonna reuse the steels, and then I was looking for somewhere. I got another. Should have had two of these. You know what happened to it?
Mr. Rod, I'm gonna butcher his last name, Khalili, said Mr. Boyle needs to arm wrestle Mr. Grant.
I will lose.
Grant
That's-
Longstreth said, I wanna see that. Hashtag
Team Boyle. Oh, thanks guys, but pretty sure, looking at the size of the old Todd Grant's arms, I don't think I'd have much of a chance. He's a beefcake. Oh, here it is. It's right underneath the clutches. So you guys are distracting me. But
Top view. There you go.
top view. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just do it. So these were the original Overrun clutch steels, and they are, I mean, they look brand spanking new. So we're going to use these. Welcome, Mr. McFessel. Come join us
And the live stream.
in the live stream. We're talking about putting this transmission together. Anybody out there want a cameo from Dr. McFessel?
Oh yeah.
Well, he's not really a doctor, but we'll call him that anyway because he just got his master's degree, right? Front view.
Front view. Is it connected? It's connected.
Come on.
There you go. I scoot over.
Come on.
Oh, now I gotta scoot up.
There he is. There's the guy, the man of the hour.
Mr. Andy Short said the last lines were keeping my eye out for the 5-0.
Okay, keeping my eye out for the 5-0. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like it. See, I guess this was these aren't done. Yeah, you're trying to learn my he's trying to cover the lyrics, the rhymes that Andy and I made up in the 490 class. Cruising down the street in my 6.0, blowing a head gasket, needing a tow. Keeping my eyes out for the 5-0. Andy? Is that all he's got?
He's leaving us hanging right now.
Come on, man. Yeah, we have fun.
Rod Khalili said, sing for us.
I just did. You need more? But what brings Mr. McFessel out on such a lovely evening?
I did the NVH on Bryce's truck and got a bad U-joint.
Oh, you knew that
So
though.
I documented that, so I'm gonna change the joint and go get some more Pico footage.
That's good. I just got these mixed up because I wasn't paying attention. I can't remember which one are the, see how good these clutches are? I can't remember which ones are the used ones and which ones are the new ones. Pretty sure these are the new ones. But they're Overrun clutches. We don't really care about those anyway, do we? They probably won't do too much for us. So I put my two steels in, my friction, 2 frictions. And then there is a plate, this guy that separates the forward and the overruns. The overruns are on this side, the forwards are on this side. And what happens is the forward clutch applies as soon as I put in drive, and the forward pistons come up and push on these little tabs right here, and it applies the forward clutch pack that's on this side here. So it squeezes it on. If I shift it into like a manual third, the overrun will come out from underneath it and switch and actually apply it. The kind of, what it does is it keeps the Sprag, and the Sprag is something that, you know, we'll talk about here in a little bit, or install or whatever. It keeps the Sprag from freewheeling when I'm in manual third while in third gear, or when I'm in manual first. So I'll go ahead and put this in, and I always make sure that there's nothing in there wrong, especially if I'm distracted, talking. Holly's distracting me somehow.
Or singing.
Or singing. If I'm singing, that'll throw it off. But, you know, here is my forward clutch pack. I'm going to go ahead and pull these out and put them to the side, the steels, or the frictions. This looks horrible, doesn't it? It's like, oh my God, you can't reuse that. It's supposed to be like that. This is a wave plate. And you might be able to tell, see how it almost looks like it's all bent up. But it's supposed to be like that. It's a cushion plate. And then I've got my steels, which are fine. And I like to use the, like you can see this is the virgin side. It's not ever been rubbed up against. That sounds inappropriate to say. But this side here, you can see the frictions have been, there's been friction on this side. I got like these steels here. You can tell they've been having some steel. There's really nothing wrong with them though. If you look, there's no burn marks. So there's no reason why I can't reuse these. So I'll peel these frictions off, and I mean I cleaned them. I didn't put them in solvent tank because I didn't want to get solvent on the frictions or anything like that. But I did wipe them off, so these should be good. Now I'll go ahead and put a steel. So I'll start building my frictions up. Steel, friction, steel. Now, actually, before I do that, let me do this. I need to put the Sprag assembly in here. Sometimes, you can go ahead and go front view. Can you see me? Because I can't see you.
You can't see if your eyes are closed.
Sometimes people will build these up without the Sprag in there, so that when they air check it, they can make sure there's no cross leakage, or if there's leakage, they can tell where it's coming from. I like living life on the edge, so I'll go ahead and put the Sprag and assembly in there, because once you put this top plate on right here with the forward clutch assembly, the Sprag gets captured in there and we can't get it out. So let me go ahead and grab the Sprag parts and we'll put it together real quick. And the point and bearing that goes with it. So here are the Sprag parts, the inner race of the Sprag. It looks pretty good. We cleaned it and inspected it. Looks perfectly fine. The outer race of the Sprag, it also looked pretty good. It's worth reusing. I can still see the honing marks on it. So if you look close, you can actually see the original hone marks from the factory. But because this is a kind of a commonly failed part, I'm going to go ahead and put a new Sprag assembly in there. And that's what this assembly. This is a Borg Warner Sprag assembly, 29 element. And it's pretty much the most common, I guess, piece that people put out there. You can, if you're not paying attention, put this in upside down, and that would be a huge failure on this transmission. So you don't want to do that. Basically, when this thing is installed correctly, if you hold the sun gear in your hand and you rotate the Sprag clockwise, it should drive that sun gear. Because that's what's happening. The forward clutch will grab onto the outer race, right here, the forward clutch spines into this. It grabs onto the outer race, and through the Sprags, in the clockwise direction, it drives the sun gear. But then it lets it freewheel in the counterclockwise direction. So let's see if we can't get this to click together.
Mr. Tyler Gum said never was able to take auto trans in school, so learning now.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you guys go to that, the automotivetextbook.com site, I got the whole automatic transmission curriculum up there. So you can click, I got pretty much every transmission video that has theory of operation, overhaul, all that stuff.
You also have your like 7-part series too.
The basics, right. And I get a lot of good comments on that, which I appreciate. It's,
This is in front because we can't see you.
huh?
We couldn't see you in top view, so I moved.
Oh, okay. All right, so now I got that in there. Sometimes it's a bear to get these in. You got to kind of push the elements in from the back. But if you look, mesmerizing, isn't it? Ooh, That's the little figure 8 shaped elements that are in there. Those are the Sprag elements. And then you can see it's freewheeling because this middle part is the sun gear. And if I grab it and go clockwise, it drives it. So imagine your engine is driving this clockwise, the sun gear. And then if you take your foot off the throttle, the sun gear, the gear set can continue to move while your engine slows down. And then when you go to give it some more throttle, now you're driving the sun gear again. So that's what allows your engine RPM to drop down when you're off the throttle. Okay, so then we got to put the stop piece on there, like that. And this right here fits there. And then that snap ring holds it in place. We've got, get on in there, come on now. Why'd you do that, Holly? You can tell I'm getting all slippery over here. There we go. So the snap ring's in there. It's all assembled. This right here is where the overrun clutches can grab onto. If you look, that's locked to that sun gear. This right here is where the forward clutches grab onto. So the forward clutches can drive the sun gear when you're accelerating and allow the sun gear to coast while you're decelerating or your foot's off the throttle. The overrun clutches, when they're applied, they are going to permanently drive the sun gear. And the reason why the overrun clutches are used is if I'm in manual first or if I'm in manual third while in third gear, they'll apply the overrun clutches so you don't coast down, you get engine braking. That's important, like when you need engine braking. This bearing goes here, but before I put that bearing in, I need to put this little seal in.
Should we talk about how you install that?
Um,
The bearing?
Oh yeah, good point. I'll mention that. I'm going to put the seal in here first, and what the seal does is it seals off between the output shaft and this input drum. So that seal rides in this area right there, and basically it seals off the output shaft and the input drum, because this is where lube oil comes in. So the oil that returns from the torque converter is going to come through the oil coolers, and then it's going to come in through this little passage, and it's going to go through all the little holes to lubricate the gears. So it's very important. If you forgot to put this in there, you'd probably burn your gear set up. Or if you didn't replace this and it would fit loosely around there, you'd leak a lot of that oil out. All right. So what do you guys think so far? Pretty good stuff, huh? The bearing goes on there. And my overrun of Sprag, sun gear, forward, race, that whole assembly. I'm gonna kind of spin that in there. There we go. So, yeah, Holly wanted me to mention this bearing. It's got these little ears right there. You guys hear that? I think somebody just started up my Tahoe. I better go check, make sure someone's not stealing my truck. But that fits right over the edge. So you wouldn't want to install it that way. That would be bad because that's not how it fits in there. It would probably break the bearing and cause metal and probably explode going down the highway. So don't do that. So I'm going to put this in, and there we have my input drum with the Sprag, sun gear, and all that good stuff on there. I'm going to take these are the original forward clutches. You can see they're not in bad shape. You can see all the segmented lines are still there. A lot of times you also want to inspect the teeth to make sure they're not wearing out. Isn't that kind of crazy to think that these little teeth, they're super thin, that's delivering all that torque from your engine to the transmission. So now these are the ones I was soaking, so I want to go ahead and put these in there. I'm pretty sure this is, unless I got it mixed up again, which, you know what, even if I did, this transmission would still work fine because those original frictions, there's really nothing wrong with it. But I see it says XD right on them, and I know these are XD frictions that I've got. You can see, maybe. He took, oh no, it's right here. Exidy. FDF. What do you think that stands for?
Forward drive, no. That makes sense.
Pay attention what I'm doing. I almost put two frictions on each other. Fast defrictions. You think? We'll say it's that. I could smell the race fuel from the club car. It smells pretty good, but I don't think it's probably very healthy to smell that. As I say that with ATF all over my hands and so forth. All right, so now I've got that last one. You can see once I put the snap ring in, I won't have room to adjust or get that sprag out. It's a pretty thick snap ring. Once I click this baby on in there. Safety glasses? Holly, you got your safety glasses on?
I'm ducking.
Ducking? The computer's green is your safety glasses?
It has a firebox case on it.
Oh, OtterBox. Those are pretty good. All right, how about that? Good stuff, huh?
So what will happen if
You know
you
what?
don't get that snap ring all the way in?
Well, I don't think you couldn't not get that in all the way. I'm actually going to readjust the position of it because it looked like it was pushing out on that 3-4 apply tab a little bit. So I'm going to spin it a little bit to kind of avoid that. Maybe put the opening in a cavity here. I don't think it would have caused a problem, but sometimes when I notice things like that, I figure if I'm thinking about it, it's probably important. Who knows if it is so. Get in there, darn it. Maybe I shouldn't have taken it out. Holly, you feel fear for your life over there?
A little bit, just a little bit.
You should. See part of the problem. I got this thing lapped weird. Why didn't I leave it? There we go. All right, that was easy, wasn't it? So, yeah, here we have the forward clutch in there, snap ring. Now this clutch, there's an adjustment to it. I probably should have looked up the specs, but I forget them. I wonder if they have it in the, let me see.
We almost said it in the live stream, didn't we?
I almost wiped out. No, they didn't have it, but I'll look it up in the book. I want to say it's around 35 thousandths of an inch is the minimum, and like 35 to 55. It's not a huge range, but here's the thing is that, and there are different thicknesses for that top plate, but this clutch, when you put it in drive, it's applied and it never releases. So if you're a little tight on the clutch pack clearance, I don't know if I'd be as concerned, but if it was loose, yeah, I would definitely want to deal with that because that's gonna, the looser it is, the more that piston has to travel to apply, and that's gonna be a little bit more of a delayed engagement. A little tight, the only time that really become an issue is if you drive a lot in reverse. But I think a lot of builders, if they know if they can spin this thing and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of looseness inside this clutch assembly, they'll live with it. Okay, now the 3-4. A 3-4 clutch pack. I ended up having to order a couple things for it. I got a new top plate and I got some steels because the kit that I had, here's the steels. It's got a special coating on it for heat. And the top plate, I ordered it. I got the same thickness as the original steel. It's the one I had over. What did I do with it? I moved it somewhere. Oh, it was sitting on my computer for a while. This is what happens when you walk away from something for a while. And when you go to work on it, you have to remember where you left off. Anyway, it was dark. Did not look healthy, so I replaced it because remember this is the 3/4 clutch bag is what burnt up, and I got frictions for this. These were kind of donated, so it saved me a little bit of money by using this. Got this from Seal Aftermarket. I'm going to try out a couple things of theirs. So I got a new bottom plate and I got a new top plate. Ta-da! This bottom plate has these little ears that'll hook around these apply ears, so when you drop them in, they're good to go.
What happens if you switch them up on accident?
I don't even know if you could, because if you had it like this, actually you probably could. Now there are these things called boost springs that go into these areas. I don't think I'm going to put them in. I have some. I could if I wanted, but let me see if I have the old ones. I definitely wouldn't want to use the old ones. The old ones were smoked because the 3/4 clutch smoked. I'm trying to see what did I do with them. I thought I would have kept everything right here, but. Do you think, does my microphone pick? Oh, you're there. I don't even know if the microphone picks up very well. Yeah, it does. But so these are the original ones. These are boost springs. And what they do is they keep the bottom plate and the top plate separated when the clutch is not applied. So that the friction's in there, there's like zero chance of drag. But there is an issue that you can run into. And of course, if this is happening, you're going to have a failure anyway. But if you look, of course, it's so dark. If you look, there's like a steel cage that fits around these boost springs. And then you can see the spring sits up just a little bit. I'm trying to figure out the best way to show that. The spring right there at the end, it sits up just a little bit. Let me try that light again. So it sits up like 1/8 of an inch from the steel. So if you wear out your frictions and then the piston travels, sometimes it'll actually contact the steel plate here. It'll overcompress the spring. What's the matter, Holly?
You're blinding me.
Where were you on Saturday at 10 o'clock p.m.? The piston will come up and compress, and it will basically bottom out on this cage, and it stops supplying the piston. So I pulled these apart with the 3/4 clutches failed or burnt up, but in reality, the clutches were burnt up, but they weren't totally smoked. They were on their way out for sure. Matter of fact, this was that case. If you looked at the frictions, they weren't like completely gone, but enough of them wore out to the point where when that piston came up, it couldn't apply the clutch anymore because it was hitting the edges of this boost spring. A lot of builders don't put these back in. A lot of them say, yeah, you have to put these in, or else the factory, they wouldn't put them in because obviously this costs money, and if the factory can save some money, they wouldn't do it. And that is good logic. I don't disagree with that. But if you did not use boost springs, and you could probably install this plate upside down with these tabs up, and that would be bad. These tabs keep those little fingers in here, the apply fingers, from flexing out and popping off of this. It captures them. So you want to have that aiming down. Now the clearance of this clutch is pretty important. If you notice too, on these steels, there's these fat spots and skinny spots. And if you do use the boost springs, that's the point of, you have to put in these openings, the skinny ends. That gives you room to put the boost springs in. Because they fit like in kind of in that opening. If you put it like that, you'll never be able to get the boost springs in. So if you do use the boost springs, you gotta make sure you put those in like that. Probably a good idea to put them in like that anyway. This is a stock application. I don't really need anything fancy. A lot of people will be like, oh, you want to put high performance 3.4 so they don't fail again. They don't fail because they were inadequate. They fail because there's leaks. And as long as you cure the leaks, you'll solve the problem. Okay. So now I got this clutch clutch assembly in there. Once I put that snap ring down in there, I can check the clearance of it. Factory clearance is pretty large on this. If I remember, it goes as high as 100 thousandths or thereabouts. But a lot of builders like to see it closer, a lot tighter much tighter than that. Let's see what we got. There's a dial indicator. The dial indicator is a good tool to check clearances. Man, I got race cars firing up engines everywhere, don't we?
It's Sleepy Streetcar this weekend.
Salukee Streetcar this weekend.
We're going drag racing tomorrow, and then there's gonna be a car show on Saturday from 11 to 1. And if it rains, it'll be on Sunday from 11 to 1.
Is it supposed to rain?
It might.
Hmm.
I'm gonna put it on front view.
Still on that train?
So it's, everyone is getting ready for that.
Now, you might be able to go to press view and we can. Not really zoomed in, but this it is actually does not have as much clearance as I hoped. I might have to source another plate.
I had YouTube open on the phone too.
No, I'm saying now they both. Thanks.
So I'm pushing down on the plate a little bit to kind of get an idea. And it's going down to about 30, but when I lift up, it's only going up to 70. So it's about 40 thousandths clearance. To me, that's kind of tight. I'll have to look to see in a book with a nook and a cook. I'm trying to do Dr. Seuss there. But yeah, I'm getting about 40 thousandths, 40 thou. Here, we'll put one of you guys to work here. Eduardo, since he just walks away from the live stream.
I was gonna say nose.
Of course, I'm walking away, aren't I?
Am I the only one that hasn't walked away?
We'll open up a 4L60E manual. Hey, gotta ask the, how many people are watching?
5 on Facebook and 14 on YouTube.
Okay, so of the 14 people that are watching, I'd be curious, we're trying this Yeti microphone here as opposed to a wireless one. And I will probably mount it overhead, but I'm curious how well that works. Because we didn't do a test or anything like that, probably should.
So let us know.
So let us know. Let us know how the audio is coming in. I have a feeling the background audio is probably a lot higher, and I know the wireless, the mics that go on that I've been wearing, those aren't too bad. If we look right here, actually I guess the 3.4 is not bad, that might work. This is the spec. The 3.4 clutch backing plate selection. Use a backing plate which gives you the correct travel. The travel should be between 83 and 35 thousandths, and that's for the 3.4. So I'm getting 40. So I'm on the tight side, but it's not so bad now, is it? And my forward backing plate, you can see we got 5 options, and the travel is supposed to be between 30 and 70, roughly 69 thousandths. But I know I was getting at least 30 with my calibrated fingers, so that's good to know. It's really not too bad then. Now, in an ideal situation, though, if I had the clearance tight like this, maybe I should have the boost springs in there. What do you think?
Yeah.
Consensus says yes. So Let me go ahead and get the blue springs. I've got some handy, I think. Why don't you guys share a story while we're waiting?
Share a story?
You got any stories there?
Of your class or?
Or of anything?
You could tell Andy's story about the axle.
No, good.
How many of those things are there? 5? I hope.
Maybe.
So I've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop the snap ring back out. What's the matter, Holly? How come you're running off?
I've watched your video of it come flying out before, so.
Yeah, well. Everybody always wonders what's wrong with my weird eye. Now they know, right? So I'll put these boost springs in there. Mr. McFassel's back. How you doing?
Got one cap that's bad.
Just
Wheel
one?
bearing's gone. Guess what? It's a drivetrain first order, and it was.
First order. So is it imbalance that was causing or something? Because it
No, it's
should.
only one cap.
But still, you'd think one cap would create a.
It was a first.
It was only a first order, huh? I would have thought at first.
I'm gonna go back and prove it after. I thought that too. I'm like, why shouldn't it be a second? Can you figure this out?
That is odd because the drive, you know,
You would think it would go back and forth.
right, because the U joint's going to move back and forth with one bag cap or not. So, first order drive line. Huh, okay. How about that? Okay, so now I've got the boost spring in there. That's what gives me a little bit of bounce back on this. It keeps these top and bottom plates separated. And so at this point, my drum is built. I can live with this. Only thing I have to do, and before I press that shaft in, I'll brake clean just, you know, with a rag or something in that area. And then I'll use the thread locker, 680. And I'll put it on this shaft right here. Press that in. Once that sets up, I can go through and do an air test, put some solvent on it, check for bubbles. Even though Holly likes to see them bubbles, I'm hoping that they won't be there. So, front view. Hopefully this input drum will be good and will never fail ever again. Huh? Shouldn't have said that?
Shouldn't have said that.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Let's see if we can't get these bushings out. This one's easy. Oh, you know what? I gotta get a hammer. I didn't get a hammer.
There's a hammer right there.
Right here?
Is there? Never mind, I got a hammer. I was just seeing if you guys are paying attention.
More than you.
Apparently. Yeah, now you really gotta hide.
Sorry for everyone's eardrums.
Yeah, probably should mute the mic when I do this.
Can I do that?
Yeah, I can do it here. I can push this button. It says mute.
Can I do it here?
Don't think so.
Oh, no.
Ta-da!
Is it here?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. Ta-da! I mean, you could see the audio input there. There's that bushing. This bushing here is a little different than some of the others because you have to guide. When you put this in, it guides in this Teflon seals. So there is actually a little bit of a kind of a taper like built into that
I
seal.
pressed it.
It's kind of rounded right there. Kind of guide that in. So our replacement bushing is kind of built the same way. See that? This has got a hell of a taper there. It's extra tapered. But you want to make sure that, well, it looks like they taper on both sides. That's nice of them, so that way you can't screw it up. They thought of me.
Rod Galili says Mr. Boyle is dangerously smart.
Well, I'm apparently convincing that what I am. I don't know if I'm that smart.
Should we mute it?
Yeah.
Hold on.
No, I don't want. Public service announcement number 1.
It's muted.
Oh,
No, I unmuted it. Is protect your ears by using ear protection when you're pounding on things, or else you will get tinnitus, like me. Use a chisel, an old. Huh?
You did
Still
unmute it.
muted.
Oh, sorry. Oh, by the way, after Rod said, I'm incredibly smart, I went ahead and muted the microphone, and then I said, thanks, Rod. So I don't know if you're right, man. That's about the dumbest thing I could do, right? But here I went ahead and used I got like a punch, pin punch, or whatever you call it. It's not really a pin punch, but, and I ground like a chisel tip to it. And that helps to dig in, like when you're pounding it into the bushings, you can kind of dig it in there, and eventually it'll come out. If you ended up tearing it up and nicking it, you probably want to clean that up with a little file before you press a new bearing in. What'd you say?
You're not on the thing.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah, like I created a little blemish there, so I'll probably want to get a file real quick and clean that off. These were already there. I don't know how that happened. I didn't do that, I swear. These little things there. If you rewind the video, I swear they were there before I took that out. But, so here are this one's going to go on this side. And this is the one I just pressed out. That's the other one that I popped out. And what are you guys whispering about?
He wants me to find a file out of nowhere.
The files are in the Bluetooth box way over there on the top drawer. I don't know where the hell Holly was pointing at, but you could do press view. Why don't we do press view? Yeah. Because I can go ahead and put this. I could press this one in. Now, I've got, which is, well, okay. I guess I
Where
zoom.
did that go?
Sorry if that's making you dizzy at home. I've got these drivers, and they work real well for pushing these in. And they are kind of designed to be pounded in, but if you use an arbor press, it sure seems to be a lot less abusive to the bushing. Sometimes when you pound these things in, they mushroom a little bit. And using an arbor press just seems like a better way to go about doing it. So you still want to watch it and make sure it doesn't try to go in crooked on you. Do you see any round files over there? Should be the toolbox that's all the way over. And the top drawer too. I think I could go a little further. Try to put it back in the same spot as that. So you can see that arbor press does a mighty fine job. Hey guys.
Can we shut this door real quick?
Yeah. You gotta hold the button down. That's all right. The sensor, I think it's got a malfunction, so you gotta hold the button. Garage door safety. We don't need it, right? You guys gonna bring in the race car or something?
Yeah, we're getting ready to start it. We didn't want to interrupt your live stream.
Oh, appreciate that. It's all right.
Yeah.
Connors you're talking about, or?
Yeah, Connors.
Good. I hope I hear it running.
Yeah.
So, are you finding anything over there, Eduardo, or are you just going through and playing around with all my tools and not coming up with anything?
Oh, you don't even know how to open them?
Jeez. Okay, that's all right. I got helpers in there. They sometimes help. But, yeah, now we're going to go through, and after I'll press that, I can wait and clean that up later, but
You can't get into them if they're locked.
they're not locked. You just got to make sure all the doors are shut. So we want to put this piston in here first, and a lot of people struggle with this piston. This right here is the reverse piston, and we'll put new seals on it. They come in the kit. This seal aftermarket kit, high quality kit. And you'll find the little package. This is it. They're nice. They label it for us.
I got
See it?
it. Which ones you want to use?
Wow, we got an assortment. Thank you. Of course, this is the only round one. Oh, it's kind of. Geez, what kind of file is this thing? This was in my toolbox? Interesting.
Oil puddle.
That would have been funny. I'm going to turn the camera around real quick.
There's gonna be like blood coming from my head.
Just grab a little transfer, just dump it on yourself.
You should wear your safety glasses. You wouldn't have it.
You're right.
Would you like a top view of that?
Is the door gone now?
No, it's all right. Well, pretty close.
Should we go into 1,000 horsepower Trailblazer?
I want to know what Eduardo did to create a file like this. It's pretty cool. I guess all my real round files are gone, aren't they?
Probably.
Probably.
You didn't specify what kind of file you wanted.
Well, that was the only round I could find.
Well, let's go ahead and see how this presses in. What's the worst that could happen?
It breaks.
It breaks, and that wouldn't be the first time stuff like that has happened to me, so,
You learn something if it breaks.
yeah.
It's going to be ready to go into the 1,000 horsepower Trailblazer.
Okay, that goes in there. So one of the things I'll do is make sure that this can go all the way in there, which it does.
It's not. It's not.
Ta-da! This goes in here. This is a good fit for this bushing. But before I press it in, you want to make sure that that drops all the way into there. Because you know how I learned that before?
It got stuck half.
Yeah, it got, I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And then I go in and then I try to take this tool out and it's stuck in there. That's not good.
That's mint. Press view?
Press view.
Press view. Got it.
Wow, that view is impressing. Wah, wah, wah.
It's there's an A in fail, isn't there?
Yeah. That would pretty much qualify for that joke, wouldn't it?
Eduardo working the cameras. Look at that. That's a good view.
Yeah, and the plate that I got here isn't very good. Let me grab, the surface isn't large enough. So let me grab this real quick to Give me something a little bit bigger. I don't know why I had to talk like this when I say that. Okay.
No, that's a good view.
That's a decent view. It's
He's-
impressive.
It's as impressive.
It's absolutely impressive.
This is one I might actually want to pound on. Because it's,
Is it flexing?
Going in kind of sideways.
Is it flexing?
oh, is it? Anybody see that on in YouTube world? Is that going on the blooper reel? Supposed to make that loud, cracky sound?
I still haven't made his video of all the funny moments in his videos yet. Hey, your phone's at 10%. Do you have your beverage
Well, it's flexing a lot, isn't it?
Yep.
That's all right. I think I got it in there.
A wee bit.
I don't know how well that worked out for us, but how about no view? This is kind of a fail right here. Because it's,
Stuck?
maybe a little bit, which is odd because we double checked all that unless I bird it up somehow.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it. He didn't want to do it.
People need to know things don't go perfectly.
That's true.
It is
You know,
true, yeah.
this is a. Dang it! I got this thing all catty-whampist.
Just switch to top view or the side.
Switch the top view and.
Front view? Oh no, it's offline again. There we go.
Yeah, when it gives you the battery warning, I think it goes offline.
Okay, where's the battery?
Boy, I got this thing stuck in there.
You should put your earmuffs on.
Public service announcement, kids.
Mute the mic.
Yeah, I might be putting a new bushing in on this one.
Mute the mic.
I think it was too close of a fit. Perfect.
That was first take.
My face when you started hitting that.
It's an excellent. I wonder if it'd even fit. Well,
Rod said nice catch, but I don't remember what you caught.
Oh, when he
Oh,
caught
when
it,
you
it's
dropped
going
it.
off
Well,
that.
you almost dropped it.
what do you mean?
It's gonna go in the blooper reel. It's not gonna show up.
I didn't almost drop it. I meant to do that.
You're showing what not to do.
So did you break it?
No, actually, it seems to fit pretty good. I mean, I don't know. It was this thing here. I think just this thing here is just a little too tight. So when it pressed itself in there, and the bushing collapsed a little bit. I think it grabbed onto this. But to look at it, actually doesn't look bad. Where's the light at? Right here. It's not scored up. I guess there's a little shiny spots here. I don't know. We'll see how it fits on there because if you remember, I got an 8,000 feeler gauge. Well, that's actually not checking that side though. We'll see if there's looseness on there when we put this on.
Hey, we're 15 minutes from 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Golly, it just feels like just a minute ago we started doing this. Wow. I guess that's what happens when I just start yapping. Let's see what kind of clearance I have, Holly. I'll just disregard what you said there so that way we could just keep going like it's nothing.
3 hours later. Let me get my blanket and my cot out and we'll stay the night here.
There you go. Okay, I got 1.5 in there. This is with the new bushing. And I cannot get a 2,000 in there. So there's no doubt about it, replacing this bushing tightened it up 0.06 of an inch. And I can still feel a little bit of looseness, which is to be expected. But if I can't fit a 2000 feeler gauge in there, you can tell I've improved it. I mean, whereas before I got an 8000. So it's better. How about what we'll do for this here to finish this up is I'll go ahead and put the reverse drum together and talk about this piston here. You know, this is the reverse piston. It's aluminum or aluminum, depending on what language you speak. The Seal Aftermarket kit, like I mentioned before, gives you a nice labeled package, although it's pretty simple to figure out where these go. I know, you did it. I saw you switch it. You're just too slow. Now, this is where a lot of people struggle. They actually do make a seal installer to help install this, kind of guide that in. But it's somewhat difficult at times to get this piston installed in here. It's not going to just drop in. Even if I put some trans gel on it, which I will, a lot of times I'll do this, is you kind of wipe the trans gel into the lip seal portion, like that. Because then, when you're squeezing it together, that trans gel will maybe, at least theoretically, help stick it. But it won't let me get it in without any other kind of trickery. So I'll have to share with you my trickery.
It'll cost you.
But it'll cost you. Price is cheap. All you have to do is like and subscribe. No. Just kidding. Do whatever you want. Just leave me nice comments. So a lot of times I'll wipe it down like that or pull it in like this. But like I said, that's still not enough to let this drop in and go in there. So I'm going to show you a trick. I should have been prepared, but I'm not.
We should have a camera following him around. Oh.
Here it is.
Hey, Connor's car is running.
Yeah, it sounded like it started right up. So these right here are transparencies. Back in the old days, that's how they used to teach, right? Put the overhead projector and just put it up on the wall.
Oh,
You probably never even seen those, have you?
Yeah, I did. Actually, it was like elementary school. You're gonna wrap that around the seal, aren't you?
Kinda. What I do is the outer one, I'll stick it to the drum. Put a little bit of trans gel in here. It doesn't work if you got transmission fluid all over the inside of this thing. So you want to have the inside of the drum clean. Is there one or two? This is really thick. Kind of dirty too. I take them and I cut them into little pieces so that way they're not in the way so much.
Is that how you learned?
Transparencies? No, they had like carvings on caveman walls, and
I knew it.
then they transitioned that into basically. Oh shoot! I forgot what I was gonna say. Something else smart ass probably I was gonna say, but hell yeah, I learned on transparencies. And look, it works best when you use a transparency from a transmission that you're working on. But this looks like some kind of transaxle here. It's got the chain. That was like a 4T60 or something. 440 T4. Okay, so
That's gonna go in the middle.
yeah, you curl this one up. Hopefully you can still buy these at like Staples or something, so if people are building these and they want to try this, they can find a place to get transparencies at. I'm sure you can.
Probably as old as I am.
Yeah, I used to have to go and rob Mr. Comnick's stash because he was the last one to convert over to PowerPoint. Does he still have transparencies probably?
I'm sure he does.
I like to tease him. Okay, so yeah, you don't want to get too carried away pushing this down in there because what happened is yeah, it gets stuck. It'll end up okay, I should have put the thin one on the
You
inside.
can't teach with it anymore.
You can't teach with it, yeah.
We need to have like a fail cam.
Why?
Everyone.
I don't want to say that all these cams are fail cams, aren't they?
Then I need another one to follow you around and use parts, like all up in your face.
Look, I'm gonna put this thick one on the outside. This thin one here, I think this thick one's just too stout, made out of quality plastic. There is a company, Transtech used to have what they call a lip wizard, which is a round piece of plastic that you can kind of help spin these in, and it works. But I don't have one. Actually, I do, but I'm using this. Doggone it. You guys hear that engine in the background? That's Connor, and at this new camshaft. So wish him luck. He's trying to get the car ready for Saluki Street Machines.
No, streetcar.
Saluki Streetcar Challenge. That's what I said. Didn't I?
No.
Now, what does that all mean? Saluki Streetcar?
We're doing the drag racing is tomorrow, the Paducah, and
Paducah.
yes.
Sykeson's not doing it?
I think that last week. And then Saturday there is a car show from 11 to 1 at the Tech in the South parking lot.
11 to 1.
And if it rains, it's gonna be on Sunday.
If it rains, it'll be on Sunday.
They figured what I would do.
Let me pull these outer ones out real quick. This normally works well, but since I'm doing it live, and since Holly jinxed me by saying a fail cam and all that crap, it's not working as well as it usually does, but I blame her. But, see how easy that was? Even you could do it.
Oh, did you get it?
Yeah. What do you think? Come on.
Oh, front.
Yeah, come on.
Boyle knows everything.
Yeah, no problem. When you get these things installed, one way you can tell is you didn't have a lip seal issue or a flipped lip seal, is that you can spin it like that. And that's good. How about that? The return spring. I also like to do this, even though it's probably not 100% necessary. Whenever I take these things apart, I always take the clip that holds this assembly together, and I kind of go through the spring.
So you don't lose it?
Yeah, so I don't lose it, and also this one is very similar to, see if we can find it.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
So those are very similar, if you look, but they are different. This one's not as thick in that dimension as this one is. This is the low reverse piston that goes in the case. This is the reverse piston. So so that way I don't have to remember it.
You're half in the camera.
So that way if I don't have to remember it, I can do that. All right. Here's my little screw press. And this thing. There are a lot of different tools that allow you to compress these pistons. You can buy cheap ones that are that clamp into a vise. They have fingers. They work well. I actually never used to use these. I had a few of them donated at one time or another from I think the GM training centers or something like that. But then once I started doing these videos, I didn't want to go over it. I have a foot press that can do all this stuff. But I started doing videos, and it's a lot easier to just keep everything on the same bench. Why are you backing up, Holly? She doesn't have that level of courage that's needed for the executive producer position that she's in right now. Oh, God. You guys got safety
Filling
class?
in for Bree.
Yeah, I know. Bree, if you're watching, what the heck, man?
What the heck, man?
She's the whole reason why we're doing this live. She just
She started it.
Well, she didn't want to do it live though. She was like, well, why don't we just put the transmission, take it apart, and put it together? I'm like, well, if I'm gonna do it, might as well just do it for everybody else, right? Okay, front view. See? Screw press. You can actually make a tool like that probably pretty easy also. Ta-da.
Do you want to top you now?
Nah. Yeah, we will end this after we install the old reverse clutch assembly. That's not part of it. Hold on a second. Things are a lot of order. Okay. So this bottom plate is dished. And we'll put the dish facing down like that. And kind of like the other steels, there'll be a virgin steel that has not had a friction against it. And you can see it's this side right here. It's got a weird pattern to it where you can tell no friction has been rubbing up against it. We're going to put that in first. Then I got my friction discs, my Exides there that I've got that are part of the kit.
They were half soaked.
Half soaked?
Yeah, they were set up like that.
Oh, that's all right. Some people don't even soak their friction before they install it because
I was gonna ask, can you like not soak them before?
I've been told, but I've never toured a brand new plant where they build these, but I've been told that they don't soak them from the factory. And a lot of people will say that you can't really accurately check the clearances of the clutches with them soaked, that you need to do it dry. And a lot of people aren't going to spend the time to take it back apart after they check it if the clearances are okay. So I've done it both ways. I've built them with, I've gone ahead and built them with the dry and with soaked. Some manufacturers will tell you to soak them, so I don't know if they're doing that just because, but I think it's builder preference. Some people don't like to have their hands in oil all the time. They figure by the time you start the vehicle up on the lift, a lot of people when they build these, once the transmission's in the vehicle, they start it, they're filling it. Well, all that oil is being pumped through the lube holes and all that stuff. You're cycling fluid through the transmission. So all this stuff is getting wet with transmission fluid. And if you, a lot of times they'll run it on the lift. They'll go through all the gears on the lift up and down. So there's no load up against the clutches. And by the time it actually sees road use or being driven down the road, it's going to have oil soaked into the friction. So it all, I think, depends on whether or not you want to work with oil on your hands or not. Okay, so this is built. Now normally we would, at this point, air check it, but my pump is not completely assembled yet. That's something that we still need to do. And you would air check it by putting your clutch onto the pump and then pumping air into the proper passage. Your stomach just make noise.
It's time we gotta go because I'm hungry.
Oh, gotta go, I'm hungry. Yeah, this passage right here, you don't need to go anywhere. Actually, I won't be able to apply the reverse, I don't think, without having this transmission, without having it together, without having my pump together. I'm kind of thinking on the fly here because I can't remember if this passage right here, that's either I think that is my boost valve, but the reverse pressure is coming from this area. So without the other half of the pump assembled on here, when I pump air into the proper passage, it's not going to find its way into the reverse clutch housing to apply the piston. And we would have a leak in this when we normally apply it. I didn't show you, but on the piston, there's a bleed hole in there. And when you go to apply that piston, it doesn't get covered until that piston fully applies, because that dished plate will allow fluid to leak through that hole. And then once that dish plate flattens out, then it'll cover it off. And even when it covers up, it's not a perfect seal. So you will get leakage, but when you put 30 PSI into there, if you're seeing the the piston come up and down, and like I said, you're putting air pressure in there. So 30 PSI, you can see that piston come up and down. You know you're getting adequate piston to fly. So this is what we'll do for the next go around. I'll go ahead and assemble the pump, or we'll do that. We can assemble the pump, and then when we come back for the next one, we will have this input drum with the shaft in there, all Loctited together. So that should be taken care of. Then we can go through and air check everything to make sure it all air checks okay. Because the thing is if your end plays are good and your air checks are good, if you ever have an issue with the transmission, it's likely going to be something in the valve body. But if you don't get a good air check, or if your clearances aren't correct, then you never know. I mean, obviously you could have an issue with the valve body or with this gear set. So you always want to make sure you got a nice solid air check, that the ones that do leak, you want to make sure they can still apply with 30 PSI, and you want to make sure all your clutch pack clearances are good. Like I can tell you right now that this is probably well within spec. I'm going from 90 to 35. So I'm 45 thousandths-ish, 40 to 45 thousandths. And if I look at my book for my reverse, you can see it says it's supposed to be between 40 and 76. So when you do enough of these, you can just kind of do something like that and say, oh, yeah, that looks right and it feels right. So, but it's always good to check it and put a number up against it. So yeah, the next go around, we'll put the pump together, we'll air check everything, then we'll put everything into the case, and we'll see where we're at that point. Really, we might just have to do our few little valve body updates, and we'll be completely done with it. So there'll be at least one, maybe two more of these episodes coming up. And unfortunately, Holly, you said you can't do it until when?
Next week.
Next week, towards the end of it?
Yep.
And Eduardo's probably trying to figure out, okay, so I
How do
got,
I get out of this?
yeah, he's like, I got a week to come up with excuses.
I don't need a week, I got a bunch of projects and tests. and
Well, see, he's already got the excuses. So Bree, come on now. If you're watching this, it's your idea. Where are you? Okay, what do you think? Is this a good place to stop for today?
I think so.
Okay, 2 hours, she's getting hungry. Her stomach's making noise. So I'm gonna I'll go ahead and shut off the stream.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. And